After over 2 hours of action in Azerbaijan, there's only one thing to say. Well done, Baku. Welcome back to the Grid Talk podcast, everybody. This is episode number 110, where we'll be reviewing the 2021 Azerbaijan Grand Prix. I'm your host, George Howson, and today I'm joined by engineering student Owain Medford.
Hello.
F1 expert Alex Booth.
Hello.
And president of the Chris Medland fan club, it is Sam Thatcher.
Yeah, good afternoon, guys.
Afternoon, everybody. Wow, what a race we've had in Azerbaijan. I really don't know where to start on this one. So I guess we'll start with the man who won the race as we normally do. Sergio Perez, Owain. He won his first race for Red Bull, his second win in the sport. It's fair to say that he's taken some time to adapt to that car, but he well and truly mastered it in Baku.
Yeah, he said 5 races and he was not wrong. He was, like you say, he's been having sort of a bit of a rough time of it, really. Not doing so well in obviously the other races this season. He's had a sort of quite a tough start, really. But he did exactly what Red Bull needed him to do today. So he kept Hamilton behind, save for, a small issue on his pit stop that wasn't his fault. He would have been he might have been challenging for the lead. He did excellent. Obviously, it's really unfortunate what happened to Max Verstappen there. It brought out was obviously the second, the red flag period. He's done exactly what he needs to do. But I think it was kind of in the position where you think he might could, as I said earlier, he could have challenged for the race win anyway.
Yeah, he had a poor pit stop, and would have been a lot closer to Max Verstappen had it not been for that. But being in second place ahead of Hamilton, he jumped Hamilton in the pit stop phase. He was used by Red Bull to kind of just back Hamilton up, I think, a little bit. I think if he was allowed to run his own race, he could have been challenging for the lead earlier on. But he inherited the lead because of Verstappen's tyre failure, and we will get into that, obviously, as we go further down the grid. But yeah, Sam, a bit of luck for Sergio Perez, but it's fully deserved. He's good round Baku, we know this. And yeah, he kept the lead at the restart, obviously helped by Hamilton's mechanical failure. But, he kept his head clean. And there we go, first win for Red Bull. And he's back up into third in the championship now.
Yeah, so this is like what Red Bull have been looking for when their second driver, of course, they've gone through Gasly, they've gone through Albon, and obviously they didn't think they were quite cut the mustard for the second seat of Red Bull. I think this kind of justifies why they brought Perez into the team. He's going to be there to be the rear gunner for Verstappen in future races if they need him. He's going to be there to pick up the scraps if anything happens ahead of him, which I don't think either Gasly or Albon really did. You can maybe argue that the Red Bull car this year is a bit more capable of winning races than it has been in the past 2 years. But at the end of the day, you still have to be there to pick up on these like little things that might happen in the race ahead of you. So yeah, I'm very, very happy for Checo. He's such a good driver, and yeah, as he said, in Baku, he just seems to come alive. I believe this is he already had 2 podiums here before, I believe, and this is his third one, obviously on the top step. So yeah, very happy for him. To be honest, I don't think he's in the title fight, but we'll see what happens in the coming races.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think he's quite in the title fight. It is between Hamilton and Verstappen, both of those guys not scoring today. No Valtteri Bottas as well. So Perez's 25 points is absolutely massive for Red Bull and the constructors in particular. I think they've got a 26-point lead now over Mercedes after this round, which is very good going indeed. Very good for Perez. I guess we've mentioned him quite a bit, so we might as well touch on Max Verstappen. Alex, he did not finish the race. He was leading comfortably by about 6 seconds, I think, and had a tyre failure, the second tyre failure in the race, the second rear left tyre failure as well. I think Pirelli are going to come under some fire after this one.
Yeah, there's going to be an interesting debrief at Pirelli after this. 2 dramatic tyre failures leading to really spectacular incident. It's thankful that both Lance Stroll and Max Verstappen were able to get out unharmed. It's such a shame for Max because he drove a fantastic race. He looked set for a great victory. Red Bull looked like they were going to have a comfortable one too, which would have been their first one for quite a while now. Max had his bad luck, but then he had a bit of good luck in the sense that Hamilton had his problem on the restart. So what could have been a deficit in the championship, it comes out still leading by 5 points, and it's been neutralised. So battle goes on to France. So there's not. That's probably there's some consolation that Max can take because he was understandably really frustrated, but it's a win-loss. But at the very least, he's still at the championship. He's still in the championship lead.
Yeah, a bad weekend for Verstappen in some ways, but it could have been a hell of a lot worse had Hamilton converted his second place to even a second place or a third. But it wasn't to be for him either, Owain. He was in second place at the restart because they lined up back on the grid. His brakes were visibly smoking a lot more than anybody else. Mercedes pointing potentially a mechanical failure. I thought it was a brake failure at first, but he did continue. He did finish the race. So his brakes were working in some capacity. He got ahead of Perez off the line. He probably would have took the lead into turn one, but wasn't to be. He flew wide and went to the back of the pack.
Yeah, it was, he, like you say, he got a really good start, actually, which is surprising, bearing in mind he was on the dirty side of the grid. And we hadn't seen many overtakes or anything that would have sort of cleaned it up in any sort of real capacity. You know, so a few people stuck their nose down there, but not to the degree that we've seen in other races at Baku. But yeah, I think it was something to do with, I think on the radio in Part Ferme, where you heard him talking about their sort of brake magic setting for restarts and safety cars and things like that, and it seems to be that you know, they were saying it was locked on, so that obviously changes your brake balance. And you saw him go actually quite far down to Mazepin and Mick Schumacher, when actually, if you look at the replay, he came on fairly quickly at, you know, a decent enough speed. He didn't have to do a 3-point turn or anything like that. So it could be that there's some sort of mechanical failure that's happened, or some sensor failure that's happened at Mercedes. That's caused that. So I don't think he's to blame on it, or at least not fully to blame. But it's just a shame because obviously he'll be massively disappointed with that. That was a real opportunity for Mercedes to start to pull quite far ahead, for Lewis to pull quite far ahead, as Alex has said, but just couldn't do it. Obviously, because it's just the way it's just the way things play out, unfortunately. That's Formula One for you.
Yeah, Red Bull with some bad luck this week, and Mercedes with some bad luck as well. And because of that, we got some unusual podium sitters and some people that don't normally score high points, or at least haven't done this season anyway. So yeah, there we go. Hamilton and Verstappen, it's still so tight between them two. I think it's only 4 points between the pair of them still after this round. So it really is all to play for too at the top as well. It's just a really, really good race to enjoy watching. As it turned out. So we move on to second place. And Sam, if you'd have told me that Sebastian Vettel would have finished in second place, getting Aston Martin's first podium in the sport, their best ever result, obviously, as well. If you'd have told me that he would have got that yesterday, I would have thought, what the hell are you talking about? But he's done it. It was an incredible drive by him today.
Yeah, you probably would have chopped my hand off when I told you that yesterday. Yeah. Very deserving of his driver of the day award today. Yeah, he was incredible. As we saw yesterday in qualifying, he just missed out on Q3 by a minuscule amount, which probably in the end made quite a positive impact on his race. Which obviously gave him the fresh tyres at the end after the red flag. And we saw on the first stint, he went quite long whilst everyone else pitted, and then that meant he got in the loads of clear air and was able to kind of take those tyres a lot longer than everybody else, and then he overcut the likes of Tsunoda and was able to get past Gasly after he came out of the pits, and was kind of pressurising Hamilton after the first safety car restart as well, wasn't he? So yeah, he was in contention all day, and I was kind of hoping for Seb at least kind of to send it down the inside of turn one on the safety car restart, but I'm pretty glad he didn't do that now, because obviously the second place is great for him, and as you said, it's very significant for Aston Martin to get his first podium in F1, because considering the start they had, we didn't really think they looked that good, but I think the car's improved a little bit in the past couple of races from the beginning of the season, and it looks like Seb's fully settled into the team now, which is really good to see. And yeah, it's probably going to be only onwards and upwards from here for them. But yeah, no, Seb easily deserved his Driver of the Day award today, and yeah, very happy for him. Legend.
Yeah, very happy for him. I think a lot of people are very happy for Vettel. We wanted to see the old Vettel back. We've got him back. You know, after his worst start to a season in over a decade, he's well and truly looking at home in that Aston Martin at the moment. Amazing second place. Great tyre management to go as long as he did in that first stint. He led the race. Even on new tyres, Verstappen, he was catching him, but he wasn't like hand over fist. You know,
yeah, it took him quite a few laps to catch him in that stint, didn't it? Verstappen, he wasn't like normal when fresh tyres are put on. It took him at least 5 to 10 laps to catch up with them, which can put Perez under pressure as well. So, yeah, very good job by Vettel on that stint, as you said.
Absolutely. And in his second stint as well, you know, he was looking like he could get up to Hamilton for third, like legitimately. And he ended up even getting better than that because of the, you know, Hamilton going back and Verstappen having his crash. So there we go. So we move on. And another surprise podium stander. I think Gasly's qualified fourth for this race, Alex. But if you'd have told me again if he would have got third legitimately, I just wouldn't have believed you because it just an unbelievable performance by him again in the AlphaTauri. And again, another vital result for a midfield team.
He's driving really well lately, Pierre Gasly. His stock is rising, and it was another great race for him today. Qualified extremely well yesterday, but a bit like yourself, Josh. I didn't really think that he would stay up that far. I thought that he would probably drop further back into the race, but he didn't. He drove really well all through the race. He got ahead of Leclerc during the pit stops, from which he would never. He would never fall from. He nearly got overtaken by. Well, he did briefly get overtaken by Leclerc after the restart, but then he got him straight back, and he hung on to score. Here's an AlphaTauri's first podium of the season, and what a season it's turning out for them. They've got a very good car under their shoulders, and it's paying off because Yuki Tsunoda brought it home in the points as well. So a great weekend for AlphaTauri.
Yeah, fantastic. For once, my bold prediction was actually correct. I went for AlphaTauri for a double points finish, and they did that very comfortably this weekend. So I guess I do know what I'm talking about sometimes.
On occasion.
On a very, very rare occasion, yeah. I didn't go for George Russell. Yeah, I didn't go for George Russell for the points for once, and it paid off. So maybe I'll stop doing that. Moving on. So fourth place and just top of the podium, Alex just mentioned him there. It is Charles Leclerc. Now, he got the pole position, back-to-back pole positions for Ferrari. Who would have predicted that this season? Like, they are much improved, but that is just incredible. That car over one lap is fantastic. It did struggle a little during the race, though, Wayne. I think Ferrari have probably set up that car to be incredibly quick over one lap, but over a race, it still struggles a little bit. But saying that, still a great result for Leclerc today.
Yeah, I think they were sort of saved by the antics later on in the race, to be honest. Like you say, they're not. The car doesn't look great to drive over a race run. It's sort of the opposite Mercedes, or at least right sort of the short term. If you look back over the last couple of Grand Prix, Mercedes have had a car that's not so great in qualifying and has decent enough race pace, and the opposite is true for Ferrari. Obviously, like I say, it kind of the shaken up order helped Leclerc, I think, because otherwise they were sort of running down in sort of eighth and 13th and things like that, and it didn't look so great for them. But obviously the sort of the result that matters is the one that they have at the end, and Charles Leclerc's to bring it home in fourth, and that's 12 valuable points for probably what's going to be ending up being the top of the midfield battle. I mean, I know it doesn't matter with Ferrari's finances, but that's incredibly important.
Absolutely. It's pride for them at the end of the day. I mean, this year, really, they're aiming to get third place. And I think at the moment, as the results are, they are in third, just a little bit ahead of McLaren.
Ferrari have 94, McLaren have 92. So, yeah, just so tight, between them two.
I still think McLaren, they might just edge it. I think Ferrari are very good at street tracks, but we'll see. They've really turned a corner recently. France will be a big challenge for them. That's a much more conventional track. And so far, McLaren have done not a little bit better than them, at least at most of those tracks. Speaking of McLaren, though, Sam, fifth place today was Lando Norris. Now, again, he benefited from the chaos in front of him. He was hanging around the edge of the points. It was looking like a decent drive considering his penalty after qualifying, which I still think was really harsh. But rules are rules. You got to respect them. They don't mess around on red flags, as Nicholas Latifi found out today as well. But yeah, 5th place for Lando Norris. A good day for him overall in the end.
Yeah, as you said, he's definitely one that's kind of gained 2 or 3 places from the things that happens ahead of him. I agree with you. The penalty was extremely harsh because obviously he's kind of in a damn if you don't situation, because either he's going to be speeding into the pit lane with potential crash, or he has to go onto the straight. So yeah, as you said, it's a harsh penalty, and to get penalty points in his license was an additional kind of thing which probably didn't need to happen. But yeah, he had a pretty bad start because I remember he was getting just swallowed up by everybody around him. Then even Ricciardo managed to get past him at the start. Then he managed to kind of stabilise himself, and he managed to keep Bottas behind him for the majority of the first stints, and then had a quite comfortable gap to Bottas by the time of the first pit stops, I believe. Then after that he had a bit more of a quiet kind of afternoon, just kind of minding his own business. Didn't get caught up in any like the chaos around him. So yeah, it's another good day for Norris. But for Checo's win, he might still been third in the drivers' championship. But he's still having an incredible season, and to finish 5th on a day where you don't necessarily drive that incredibly well is a great result, and that's going to be something that's going to help him come the end of the season, and help McLaren as well, as you said, with Ferrari, which, because we said, it's like incredibly close, and these points are going to be crucial come the end of the season that he's got today.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really big result for them at the end of the day. Yeah, he's down to 4th, but he's still up there. He's only 3 points behind Sergio Perez. He is doing amazingly well, Lando Norris. One of the most improved drivers this season. I mean, he was already good, but he is really showing his quality this season. I think he's only 21 years old as well. Like, just
he's like mature. He's matured quite a lot this season, I believe, in his kind of driving style, and everything in general. Really, he was quite kind of jokey around, wasn't he, in his rookie season? But he's a bit more serious now, maybe.
Yeah, weirdly, Ricciardo coming into the team's actually made him more serious and more like a. You know, he always had speed, but now he's got presence. You know, I think that drivers know when he's coming up behind him, like they're like, oh God, it's Lando. This is going to be hard.
He's in a Dayglow orange McLaren.
Is that well? It's going to help, isn't it? It's going to help. A lot bolder than the Gulf colours from a few weeks ago. So yeah, maybe that helped him.
No, he's leveled up this season, no doubt about it. And I'm not really a McLaren fan or anything, but yeah, I'm happy to see them up there again for sure.
Yeah, I always love to see the British teams and the British drivers doing well, and he is definitely doing very well. Moving on, so we in 6th place, and I had to double check this because I couldn't believe it. Fernando Alonso, Alex, ended up in 6th place. Now he was nowhere during the middle of this race. He let Carlos Sainz go. It was just like, go on, amigo, you're way faster than me. Just go past, do your thing. And then after the restart, he's ended up in 6th place. I want to see the onboard of that. It must have been an incredible last few laps for him.
Yeah, the wily old Fernando strikes again at the restart. He made perfect use out of it and got up to 6th. As you were saying, the Alpine wasn't looking particularly strong in the race, and he was being overtaken because Tsunoda got past him, and then Sainz as well, and he was at the point. It looked like game, set, and match for Alpine, but then they got a second chance with the restart, and I think with all the kerfuffle with Hamilton going off, it bunched the midfield up a bit. We saw. I think they were. I think they might have been behind Alonso, but Giovinazzi nearly went into the back of Ricciardo, and that caused a lot of concertina effect as well. And Alonso was able to take advantage of all the toing and throwing there, and he did it in the way that Alonso does. I mean, he's always been very good at starts, Fernando Alonso. I mean, we saw in the McLaren Honda days when he would start quite far down the grid, and then come the end of the first lap, he'd be up in the top 10. So he's very good at that sort of stuff, and when you've not got the car, you need to make the opportunities like that happen, and he has done. And obviously, it's not where he wants to be, but it's a good result for him, and is just demonstrating the talent he has.
Yep, form is temporary, class is permanent, and Alonso was absolutely on another level at that restart. fair play to the guy. I didn't give Alpine a hope in hell. I thought they'd really struggled to score any points this weekend, but 6th place is good. The thing that'll disappoint them, though, is how well AlphaTauri and Aston Martin, that's the one, yeah. So, too many A's.
There's a lot of A's on the grid.
There's too many A's
on the grid this year.
Yeah, like when they were saying in the team name video, I was like, half the grid's called A. There's AlphaTauri, Alfa Romeo, Alpine, Aston Martin. That's nearly half the grid. It's manic. Speaking of AlphaTauris, though, Wayne, it's Yuki Tsunoda in 7th place, his best finished in the sport, his first points since the opening round in Bahrain, and he really needed that this weekend.
Yeah, it's been sort of discussed all weekend on some of the coverage that Yuki thought he could get around in Formula One on talent alone, which is, I guess after the sort of first couple of race, the first race, he might have thought that, but he's sort of had a rude awakening, and but apparently he's put the work in, work ethic that he has, and he's got himself back up there. I don't think the sort of result 7th to 7th really tells the full story, but he's obviously went backwards and had a few fights and then got told, he's like, shut up, man, I know what I'm doing. Sort of echoes Kimi a bit, and he's just like really fiery on the radio, and and it's worked out for him. And that would look bad if he'd finished 13th or something like that. But he's stayed where he was, and he's been passed by the great Fernando Alonso. So I wouldn't. That's one of the things where I'd just be like, okay, fair enough. Like Fernando's clearly got, Yuki's good, but he's not sort of come back into the sport 2 years after your hiatus, and you've gone and done a load of other stuff. Good.
Yeah, he's done really well this weekend. I tell you what, though, he acted exactly like we would at the radio. Like if Jeff was coming at us on the radio in the F1 game, saying us like, okay, push now. We'd all go, shut up, man. What do you think I'm doing?
I am, shut up.
Leave me alone. I know what I'm doing. It's literally that. That is.
Show me don't do mugs anymore.
Yeah, that would go on a mug or t-shirt instantly. That one.
Yeah, it definitely would do. All right, R.I.P. our old store. You never know; it could come back one day, but we'll see. But you mentioned the restarts though, and yes, he did lose some places. He lost them to Alonso. He was not the only person by any stretch to lose a place to Alonso at the restart, but he was better at them, because I remember in Imola and Bahrain at the starts and restarts, he spun, he lost loads of places. He only lost a couple, so it's better. It's better for him. So there we go. I keep saying this, but another guy I didn't think I'd see in the points after around halfway through this race, Sam, was Carlos Sainz. Now, he was looking good in this race, but he had the incident where he ran wide at the castle section. He reversed back onto the grid, almost hit Giovinazzi, I think. That was a scary moment. But he got through, he rejoined. He looked like he was nowhere, really, but he's ended up in 8th and finished ahead of Ricciardo again, which is really important for Ferrari's points total.
Yeah. Prior to that mistake, he was kind of just milling about in 5th, wasn't really affect anyone ahead of him that much. And yeah, that mistake was just a classic case of not being able to warm the tyres up quick enough. First out lap on new hard tyres, going into the castle section, heavy braking. He's just locked up both his front tyres, run off into the run area. And he's lucky that he managed to get off into that runoff area without any kind of incident, really, apart from what you said with the Alfa Romeo. But luckily, nothing happened there. Yeah, it's still kind of similar to Norris, really. He had quite afternoon, really. As you said, the only kind of on track overtake I kind of remember him doing was the one on Alonso and on what's his name, Giovinazzi. Just after his pit stop. So, yeah, as you said, very key points for Ferrari again. As when you drive kind of not a brilliant race, you need to get these points on the boards. And Carlos Sainz seems to be good at doing that. He's always there or thereabouts in the top kind of 10, isn't he? I don't think he's failed to score points at any point this year so far. I'm pretty sure.
Just the one race in Portugal, I think. Yeah, but yeah, that was, he was put on a terrible strategy, wasn't he?
Yeah, because it was a terrible strategy in Portugal. Yeah, he's been one of the fastest settling in guys into the new team this year. Out of all the kind of drivers that have moved teams, he's the one that's kind of settled into the team the quickest. And when you go into Ferrari, that's very impressive, because you need to change everything about what you do when you go into a team like that. So yeah, he's performed very well, and he's always got speed, hasn't he? No matter where he is on the grid. But yeah, good drive from him to get where he is.
Yeah, absolutely. I was generally preparing to say, well, he's done really well so far this season, but Azerbaijan was a bit of a blip. But it wasn't in the end. He still got points. So fair play to the guy. Another guy who got points today, Alex, was Daniel Ricciardo. Now, I think he'll be a bit disappointed, to be honest. He was at fault for I think it was the third red flag in qualifying. There was 4 red flags in qualifying for those who missed it. Slammed into the wall there at turn 3. Ended up going out in Q2 again, starting down the grid again, but he's recovered it to points, which I think he'll be happy about. But I think more than anything, Ricciardo just needs a clean weekend.
Yeah, I think the points finish is a mere consolation prize for Ricciardo. I mean, it was a lot better than Monaco, at least, but yeah, he's still really disappointed with it. He's similar to what Sergio was experiencing. It has been tricky for drivers moving teams this season, and it's clear that Ricciardo's not quite comfortable with that car. So it was a points finish, but. He'll a bit like Mercedes. I don't think he'll be wanting to return to a street circuit in a hurry. When we get to quicker circuits such as Paul Ricard, we've got Austria, a double header in Austria as well. I think he'll do better there. He'll be close to Norris. But yeah, it's another difficult day at the office for Daniel.
Yeah, not the best for him. But like you said, McLaren should do better at the tracks that are coming up as well. They seem to do better at more power tracks. France, doubleheader at Austria, Silverstone, Spa, Monza, all in the next 7-8 races. So big opportunities for them there. We'll have to see how they get going with that. The final point scorer today, Owain, and for the first time this season, is Kimi Räikkönen. Now, he had points taken away from him in Imola for a safety car infringement, which was really strange, but I think he should be able to keep this one. So his first point of the season and another big point for Alfa Romeo.
Yeah, they're not slow. We've seen them fighting around with works Ferraris from time to time, and he's the Finn that you wouldn't have expected to see on the making up the final points position. So, Kimi's obviously still got it. We say that every time it happens, and it does happen a lot. He honestly kind of had an anonymous race, really, for me. I didn't really see a lot of what he was doing. That might have just been the coverage, just because I'm blind. But he's turned up in 10th, and it might honestly might have been the restart. I don't remember where I honestly don't remember where he restarted the race from. If anyone knows, that'd be great.
I think he was 11th. He was 11th. I think Gio was in 10th.
That makes sense.
Oh no, I think Gio was 11th and Raikkonen was 12th, or the other way around, because they were just outside the points.
That makes sense because the Hamilton going back.
And Hamilton went off.
Yeah. I mean,
Alonso went forwards.
We've pieced it together. We've played our game of Cluedo, and it's Kimi. He's going to end up in the points anyway. It's just what it is like.
It's just a hobby for him, so there we go.
Yeah. Pretty nice hobby, I'll be honest.
Yeah,
all right.
He had to drink this time, so he was able to finish in the points.
And his steering wheel and glass.
Wait, wasn't it a Baku where he didn't have the steering wheel?
That was Baku, yeah.
Yeah, it was in the 2017 race.
Another red flagged race. Very similar to this one, actually.
In some ways, yeah. Manic race, that. Manic race.
He's got Alfa Romeo points. That's all they need in the midfield battle. It's really competitive.
It's massive for them. It is. They're 2 points ahead of Williams and Haas now. That should probably be enough, to be honest.
I say midfield battle, back marker battle. I didn't realise it was back marker battle.
Back marker, yeah.
They finished high enough. It'll be the loss of points, obviously, in Spain. But if they finish highly enough, I thought they'd genuinely be sort of fighting Alpine and Aston Martin above.
Not on today's form.
No, apparently
we've eyed them now. Oh yeah, so good for Alfa Romeo, but yeah, the results of the other midfield teams have kind of put any sort of challenge they can put together to bed, really. But they'll just be focusing on next year most likely, as it stands. We'll give a mention though to Antonio Giovinazzi. Sam, I mean, he got his first point out in Monaco 2 weeks ago. He got 11th place again. I think he's had 3 11th place finishes now. He gets so close so often, but solid drive by him at the end of the day. Kept his nose clean. behind his teammate, which will be disappointing, but not the worst weekend for him by any stretch.
No. Well, he did crash in qualifying yesterday, but that's his turn.
Whatever turn that was.
Whatever turn that was, they were all 15. They were all crashing into it. But yeah, apart from that, it was a decent race because he was one of those at the start that pitted really early along with Russell. So kind of throw like a Hail Mary strategy, wasn't it, at the start to just do the whole race on the hard tyres from about lap 2. I don't know if that was a good idea looking back at it now because he might well have had another puncher had the red flag not came out. We don't know. But yeah, as you said, I think he's been driving well this season. Alfa Romeo is like one of those cars that's going to be fine for the scraps at the tail end of the points. And as you said, as long as they can beat Haas and Williams, I think they'll be happy with that. And I think this 2 points literally might be enough to get them that eighth position secure because Haas and Williams are going to be nowhere near the points, barring an absolute miracle. So, decent weekend for him. There's not a lot to say on Giovinazzi a lot of the time. I don't think he's one of those kind of anonymous kind of drivers that doesn't really have a lot going for him in terms of relevance, which is a bit annoying because I think he's a good driver.
I want to point out he started at the back of the grid.
Yeah, exactly. So coming from the back of the grid to that strategy might have worked well for them in the end then, it was another good drive from him, I'd say.
Well, he did beat Valtteri Bottas. That's something he doesn't normally do. So that's something. I mean, I don't want to be harsh on the guy, but if you look at the people behind him, it's like, you were gonna beat these with everything that happened to them anyway. We normally won't beat Hamilton, obviously, but with what happened to him.
He did overtake Bottas after the first safety car restart, I believe.
Yeah, he did.
I just remembered that. Fair play. Good day, to be honest. Even though Bottas was terrible, but I'm sure someone will talk about that in a second.
Oh, don't worry, we will. Don't worry. Honestly, I mean, you guys probably all saw the chat and what we were talking about during the race. I mean, oh my days. Alex, how bad was Bottas today? I mean, he did have the disadvantage of starting down in 10th. I'll give him that. He did help Hamilton out in qualifying. Fair play to him for that. But it wasn't as though he completely sacrificed his lap for it. He should have still been further up in qualifying. And in the race today, I know the Mercedes is not good in traffic, but oh my God, 12th place. If it wasn't already decided that he's going to leave Mercedes, I think it will be after this.
Yeah, I'm not sure what Mercedes' decision is going to be with regards to his contract, but it has been a disastrous couple of weeks for Valtteri Bottas. I mean, after the horrible luck, really, we'll say that he suffered in Monaco, he was hoping to bounce back from that, and it was just not working out for him all weekend. As you mentioned, qualifying down in 10th, which compromises you quite badly because obviously it's the last runners in Q3, so you don't get the free choice of tyres like you would do as if you were Sebastian Vettel starting at 11. So you're immediately on the back foot there, and he wasn't really able to make much of a good start, which relegated him into the midfield, and from that point on, he was never going to recover, and I think it was after the first safety car restart after Norris's accident. It seemed like he was caught badly offline. He was getting swamped by a lot of the field. I don't know what happened there. I don't know if it was the fact that he'd been left out on old tyres or something like that, and he'd lost a lot of temperature. But he just seemed to be going backwards, and from there on, it was doomed. And after Lewis's mistake, stroke problem, they ended up being a 0-point score for Mercedes, which, if you'd have told me that was going to happen, I would never have believed it. Mercedes is known for not just reliability, but strength and performance, and it was a massive blip, I would say, for them today. And as for Bottas, he really needs to grind a good result out, because it does not look good for his contract negotiations. I mean, I'm not Toto Wolff, so it's not my decision to make, but he needs to be performing, and at the moment he's finding it very difficult.
He is indeed, yeah. I think it was Stroll's accident you were referring to earlier, not Norris's with the crash. But
I meant Stroll. Did I say Norris? I meant Stroll.
It's all right. So I was just thinking, wait, Norris? Oh wait, Stroll. Yeah, no, it's
I don't know why. I think I have Norris in my brain. I don't know why.
I've done that before, because Lando and Lance are quite similar. I don't know why.
That's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an easy one to do. But I mean, just looking at this, Giovinazzi, Raikkonen, Ricciardo, who else?
Well, everyone up to
Vettel, and Vettel. Them 4 drivers all started behind Bottas. They all finished ahead of him. The only cars behind Bottas at the end were the Haas, Latifi, who had his drive-through penalty for the red flag infringement, and Hamilton, who ran wide at the restart. Absolutely dire, and that's in the second best car on the grid, like comfortably. Like, I think Red Bull were the fastest. That was pretty clear today. The second fastest car on the grid, arguably the fastest in clean air. I mean, Hamilton could have potentially won it had he not had the incident, had he not had a bad pit stop. Who knows? But it's just not good enough. If he was driving for Red Bull after that kind of performance, he'd be in the AlphaTauri. He was straight in there, no doubt about it. Helmut Marko would have him in there.
Yeah, Dr. Marko wouldn't stand for that kind of performance.
He would not. I mean, I've said it before. I've done my bad Toto Wolff impression before, but he's good. Toto Wolff is going to have Bottas's contract hovered over a shredder and just go, "Don't tempt me, Valtteri." So I honestly, after this, I'm seeing that happening. I mean,
isn't Toto Wolff Valtteri Bottas' manager as well? Rather than just
he has the power to do that.
So that it just makes it a very difficult situation for him, because it's his drive, not just his driver for the team he runs, but he's also his driver who's part of his program as well. So it's a really tough decision for him to make. It's not quite the same bond, but it's like father and son. It's like Lawrence Stroll having to make the decision for Lance, I suppose, not to such an extent, but it's similar. So it's something that they're going to have to think about with because how long is George Russell going to have to wait for his chance at the big shot? Because some of the team could come up and take him from Mercedes.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Red Bull are ahead in the constructors. They've got a gap now, 26-point gap. It's surmountable. You can do it by all means. You can get there. But Bottas, it doesn't matter what Hamilton does. If Verstappen and Perez are up there on the podium consistently, and Bottas is consistently down in the lower points or out of the race or even out of the points, it's not going to matter. They're going to lose the constructors. And I know it might be a bit of an overreaction after today, but if Bottas doesn't perform well for the rest of the season until the mid-season break, he could be out. It doesn't matter whether Toto's wants him to stay or not. If Mercedes hierarchy want a better driver in that car, they'll do it. If they can get Russell out of his Williams contracts.
Bottas is now 6th in the Drivers' Championship now. He's I know potentially lost 18 points in Monaco because of the tyres.
That's not his fault entirely.
I know.
It's not his fault, that one, yeah.
But that's still the other races he's not performed well in it, has he?
I'm going to call it. I think he's gone at the end of the season. I think after the last 3 races that they've had and the interactions that you've seen between the team and him externally, which you don't normally see with Mercedes, like people make emotional decisions all the time. I think he's gone, already. Just from the way it's been. It's just obviously the antics that we had in what was it?
In Spain, where he did
in Spain with the sort of not letting Lewis through as easily as he really should have. That I think it's one of those things where, bear in mind, it's sort of 6 of one, half a dozen of the other right now. It's one of the. I think it could come out as it's we've decided as between the team and the driver, it's mutually beneficial if we part ways. Because honestly, I don't know what it is, but he just seems to have whatever the opposite of eating your Weetabix is. He just seems to do that every single race, unfortunately, right now. And I think that might be I said it earlier, but I think it's done. To be honest, I think Mercedes will want Russell in as soon as possible after the sort of performances that we've had this season. It's a good time for a fresh start.
It could also rest on how much. It shouldn't be. The answer should be not zero, but how much influence does Lewis Hamilton have over who's his teammate? That could potentially play a part if he chooses to stick around instead of, which he looks like he's probably going to do now. There was talk that before the season started that this might be his last year in Formula One, but I don't think it will be. No. But if he has a say on who's his teammate, he's not exactly going to be too disappointed if Bottas is staying where he is.
He'll want to see sorry, Owen, but he'll want to see the team succeed. He loves seeing that. I think even I know what you mean, Alex, but I think there's going to be a point where it's like, I know you want to keep Bottas, but we can't keep doing this. We have to win the constructors.
That's the thing. That's exactly what I was going to say. Lewis can, like, if he does have that control, he can exercise that control while they're still winning the constructors, and Valtteri's doing that. But if that's not happening, then I'm sorry, but the shareholders have to come in, because you got to remember these are businesses.
Indeed. I can't remember who spoke last. I don't know who to ask the next one too. I'll go away.
It was me, so I'll go away.
It is a win. I got it right. Yeah.
Well, it was a long one, the last one.
Nailed it.
Well, you get to talk about Mick Schumacher. So,
do my eyes deceive me?
13th place, not unlucky for Mick Schumacher. His best finish in the sport so far away. He kept his nose clean. 13th place, best result for Haas this season. I think it will be the best result for Haas this season, probably too. Fair play to the guy. Good race.
Yeah, no, he kept himself out of trouble. He didn't make the mistake. He kind of learned from sort of Monaco and a fair other crashes from there. I think there's a certain amount of he's a couple of tangles away, in front of him, which were entirely possible based on what we saw at the restarts. With the cars moving about like that and the way they were. I personally think Lewis was actually lucky to not hit Perez, or Perez was lucky not to be hit by Lewis going through that first corner. So that could have caused all kinds of chaos and promoted him up all the way into the points. But yeah, that's a great race from Mick, to be honest. I think, to get himself up there. He's been helped a lot, obviously, but that's what Haas are looking for right now. And I think it's a real confidence booster. Regardless of the fact that there's been issues around, he's driven a solid race. And if you're a driver just learning to get into the sport, and we know you might take a season to get up to speed on it, I think that should help him a significant amount to be like, I'm only one place behind a Mercedes and in front of another Mercedes. Regardless of what happened, but he's done really well.
He had that pit stop issue as well, where he had to stop at the end of the pit lane because his wheel wasn't on. Front wheel wasn't on properly, so he had to go all the way back into his pit box, change the tyres, and then come out again. And,
you made an excellent point.
Yeah, he still managed.
I hope we don't get a penalty for that. I really hope he doesn't.
Yeah, I don't think they will, because they didn't go beyond the end of the pit lane, so it's not an unsafe release onto the track, I believe.
Yeah, they're perfectly allowed to do that, providing they don't go out onto the track. If they haven't crossed the pit lane exit line, then they are entitled to wheeling back in.
Yeah.
Matt Webber did that a few years ago.
Yeah, I'm just looking at something now. This is unbelievable. Mick Schumacher's 13th place actually puts him ahead of Russell and Latifi. So Haas are ahead of Williams as it stands. Haas are not last. What is going on?
I'm assuming just positions based.
Yeah. Mazepin's ahead of Latifi as well.
Oh my God, he is as well. Oh, he's only behind Russell on countback. He's got three 14th places, Russell. Voldemort has one. So yeah, he's almost level with Russell. Oh my days. What is going on? If Williams get last place in the constructors again, oh no, it's happening. It's happening, lads. They're getting last again. This is ridiculous.
What was it Russell said at Monza in qualifying last year? It's like, we need to not be in the fuck-ups, guys, when things like this happen.
Well, they're in them. They are actively in them at the moment. So yeah, we'll skip past 14th place. I mean, yes, he got 14th place, Voldemort, but It did not drive a good race. I think it was 2 minutes behind his teammate at times.
He was a very long way behind his.
He was a long way behind.
Long behind Nick.
Right at home though, so right at home, so take some credit for that.
Yeah, he finished the race, and his driving, I think, in general, well, apart from blocking people, in driving craft has maybe improved a tad, but yeah. And the joke he made about not being in Monaco was pretty funny.
That was actually really, that was funny.
He's got the most like British accent ever for someone who's from Russia.
It's almost like he was probably schooled in the UK.
Yeah.
Oh, exactly. Of course, yeah. That makes
sense. Was. I don't know, but he probably was.
Well, it's nice to have rich parents, is all I'm saying, Sam.
Yeah, yes.
He does indeed have a very rich dad. Another guy who has a very rich dad is Nicholas Latifi. He, you know what? I generally feel sorry for the guy, especially considering where Schumacher finished. That should have been him. He should have been in 13th place, Latifi, today. But his team, for some reason, Sam, thought it was a great idea to stay out. No, sorry, what did they say? Stay out. It said stay out, but actually they meant come into the pits. And because of that, you got a drive-through penalty at the red flag. That's amateur hour.
So what I think he meant was come into the pits, but stay out of the pit box. So don't come into the pit box. But then obviously, Latifi's going, 100, 200 miles an hour here. He's got like a split second to make this decision. And when someone says stay out, you're going to think stay on track, aren't you? As a racing driver, you're going to think, oh yeah, I'm going to stay on track now. No matter if you see because there was like a recovery truck on the track at that point. But if your team says stay out, you're going to stay out no matter what. So yeah, that's obviously no fault of his own. It'd be better if they could punish the team for that kind of thing. A team kind of mess up, like give them a fine or something for causing a dangerous situation, but obviously it's just been handed to Latifi, and I guess in the long run it doesn't make a great deal of difference to they wouldn't have scored points, but as we said, now they're behind Haas in the championship, so that as you said, that might cause them to finish last in the end season, which would be an absolute monumental cock up on the side of Doralton Williams International, but they definitely made strides forward, but in the race pace is still nowhere near where they want to be. So.
It's not looking good for them, is it? I mean, Phil calls them Doritos, but they really are crumbling at the moment, aren't they? It's not good. It's really not good.
Doritos International.
Doritos International. Oh my God! Right. So, and in the other Doritos car, Alex, was George Russell, and I don't know what happened to me. He just retired before the restart after the red flag. I thought it was Latifi coming in for his stop go, and I thought, you can't do that. You can't do your stop go before the restart. But it was George Russell. I guess he had some sort of mechanical failure.
Yeah. I thought the same as you. At first, I thought it was Latifi going into service penalty, but it was going very, very slow. So then I figured it must be Russell. I'm sure he came up on the team radio just before that. I can't remember exactly what he said, but I'm sure he came on the team radio and he was sounding not very happy. So I think something must have gone wrong there. It's not really what Williams need, as we've already established, to have fallen down to last on a comeback in the Constructors' Championship. But there's still, what was that, round 6? There's still contractually 17 races left. Whether we'll get 17 is another story, but that's still that was a whole season last year. So there's time they can hopefully salvage something, which they had in 2019 they were really off the pace, and there was a crazy race at Hockenheim and they salvaged 1 point. They would have salvaged some points last year if it wasn't for Russell's terrible mistake at Imola. So we'll probably get another race where that's crazy, and maybe Williams can pick up something. But today they'll really want to forget today, because not so much on Russell's part, but that Latifi mistake was really glaring, and the debrief in that will be very interesting. I don't think the engineer will be the most popular person in that debrief room.
No, it's not going to be a good atmosphere for him. I think he's well and truly messed up, and it could cost him very big. But we'll see. There's a long season still to go, like you said. 17 races still left, plenty of time to recover from that. Because they do have a faster car in the house. They should be able to beat them, but they've got to beat that 13th place. That's there. That's not going to change. So yeah, like we were saying, 18th place. Max Verstappen obviously retired after his tyre failure. Lance Stroll as well. He had another tyre failure. I mean, we not really spoke about it that much, but I mean, Pirelli are going to come under some fire for it. They went a stage softer than they would do last year. And I think they changed the pressures as well between practice and qualifying or something like that. So, I mean, what do you think, Owen? Do you think Pirelli are kind of to blame for this, or is it just a freak incident, or the team's pushing the tyres too much?
I mean, the pressure thing is, they increased the pressure from like 19 psi to 20 psi, which should mitigate any sort of, if you go over a curb when you're going a bit more slowly and the tires haven't got pressure, like sort of operating pressure, then it sort of mitigates cuts somehow. I don't know exactly. I don't know exactly how that works. I initially thought maybe, Stroll and Verstappen had maybe gone over a curb or something, in a specific way enough times. But the very, very helpful actually angle of Stroll's tyre afterwards that we did get, and sort of opinions of obviously the other racing drivers there know an awful lot more than I do on the commentary team, said it was sort of like the way it just was a failure on the internal sidewall. I think it's maybe a manufacturing error or something like that. That's my thoughts on it, at least. I don't think the going a stage softer will have impacted it that much, bearing in mind we didn't get that last time, and also the fact that I think the rear left tyre isn't really. Thinking about it, to me, it's not really so impacted as much going around Baku. It's a right hand. It's a anti-clockwise circuit, so it's the rear right tyre that you'd expect to get the wear on it. And bearing in mind, that obviously the change in construction as well to supposedly be stronger. I think it's just. I personally think it's going to be. It would be no down to sort of some freak manufacturing error for maybe this batch of hard tyres. Obviously, Pirelli's got a load of work to do, and they need to look at them, because we can't have that. The fact that we've had two drivers go into walls at 200, approaching and over 200 miles an hour is obviously terrible. And bearing in mind these are meant to be stronger tyres, also doesn't look very good for Pirelli at all, just sort of commercially, let alone the safety aspect. So they've got a lot of work to do. I'm sure they'll do an excellent investigation into it. But it's not good to see tyres failing in any capacity at that sort of thing. That could have been game over for a lot of people.
Yeah, it could have been. I mean, Stroll and Verstappen, neither of them had the G-force sensor go off, so neither had to go to the medical centre. So it wasn't as rough as it could have been, but they were going 200 miles an hour, maybe a little bit more in Verstappen's case, because he was very near the end of the straight. I mean, we've had Mario Isola on the show. I think we had him on just over a year ago. Pirelli have made big strides, and we asked him about a lot of things on there, and they obviously know what they're doing. I've no doubt they'll do a proper investigation and figure out what's happened and prevent it from happening again. Pirelli have had a very good run, I think, recently. I mean, it was rough for them when they first started, especially 2013. But since then, on the whole, I think they've done a bloody good job. I mean, nobody talks about, the tyres were great this weekend. Nobody talks about that. It's always the mistakes we highlight. So it's important that they do something about this, though, because we don't want to see that. It wasn't debris or anything. It can't have been, not like that. There must have been something up with those tyres. And yeah, if the race was a little longer, we could have seen more of them maybe. But yeah, so that's the order. That is all of the drivers. Except for Esteban Ocon, who retired after a few laps of a mechanical failure, but we can't really talk about him.
It was like 4 hours ago now.
He had a good 3 laps.
Yeah. What was it, like a gearbox failure or something?
Something like that.
Yeah,
smoke was coming out of the back. Something wasn't working.
Something went pop. Yeah, and apparently it sounded like a bag of rusty nails. So I imagine, something's not meshing correctly in there. If it is gearbox, or it's it's probably gearbox, to be honest.
I imagine so. Yeah.
He had a pretty anonymous weekend before that. Anyway, I think it wasn't really. pushing for points or anything, maybe. Obviously, saw Alonso do it.
Reliability is not really Alpine's strongest point, is it?
No. They've had a few retirements already, haven't they? It's not good when you got so few components to use for a whole season as well. 3 engines for 23 races. What the hell? That is nuts.
You can take the Renault name out, but the Renault reliability will always be there.
It's still a Renault engine. It's still a Renault.
Still Renault. We're off the air in France now. We're off the air now.
We don't get any downloads from there. Unsurprisingly.
Where's the next Grand Prix?
In France. Ironically.
We're going to all turn on our, we're all going to turn on our skyboxes later, and obviously other broadcast partners are available, but you have to have the requisite channels, and they're just not going to work for any of us.
Yeah.
Oh, right. So let's go with our drivers of the day. I've got a feeling who the common one is going to be, so I'm not going to go for the person that I think will get it the most. I'm going to go for somebody else. I am going to go for the winner, Sergio Perez. I think he did an excellent job today. I think he started, 8th, something like that. And to win, to come through like he did, and the whole overtake Hamilton legitimately. Yes, he was helped in the pit stops, but to stay out on those tyres like he did, put the laps in, I think he was excellent today. And I'm so, so happy that he's got his first win for Red Bull. It's really good to see for him. Very happy for him. Owain, who's your pick for the driver of the day?
Oh, goodness, I can't think. I was going to go for like a really sort of out there pick or anything, but there isn't really. I'm going to go for Yuki Tsunoda, to be honest. Just for getting himself back, sort of back at the order, back at the grid. Sort of try and get himself out of the slump that he's been in. Just because, I don't want to say that this is once in a few weekend performance, but it's he's done it through hard work. That's not luck. That's hard work. That is with all that he's done. I think that's good work from him.
Yeah, he was solidly running the points all race. He got into Q3 for the first time as well. Very, very good weekend for him. Sam, who's your pick?
Mazepin finishing ahead of Lewis Hamilton.
I don't know if you're being serious.
Come on, Sam.
I'm not being serious. I don't know. Just the whole podium, really. Every one of the guys on the podium were incredible today. I'll try and be out of the box. And we had Pierre Gasly, I think. All weekend he was good. Qualified 4th. Probably pushing the AlphaTauri to heights it probably can do, to be honest. It's a good car. So it's a good weekend for AlphaTauri overall with Tsunoda as well. But yeah, he could have lost the podium on the last lap to Leclerc, but kept him there. Great little battle on the last lap. Yeah, Pierre Gasly once again. He's finished first, he's finished second, and now he finished third. He's stood on every step of the podium in the last couple of years. And who'd have thought that exactly 2 years ago, like this time 2 years ago, he was nowhere in the Red Bull, struggling to even finish on the same lap as Verstappen. So, what a regain from him. Incredible stuff.
Yeah, and a brilliant comeback. I mean, to stand on all steps of the podium for Toro Rosso and AlphaTauri, that's bloody impressive, especially when he didn't get a single podium for Red Bull. Who would have predicted that?
Incredible. One of my favourite drivers on the grid, for sure.
Yeah, me too. I'm very glad to see him doing as well as he is. Alex, who's your driver of the day?
I'm going to go with the majority of the viewers of the race. I'm going to have to give it to Mr. Sebastian Vettel. I think he drove a fantastic race. After Monaco, where he drove another great race. I think he's getting some confidence back, and he's driving with the skill that we saw when he was winning championships, and he looks a lot happier. And it's so great to see. So and from starting down at 11th, getting up to in second place, absolutely fantastic. So great result for him.
Yeah, brilliant. I'm glad you went with Vettel, because if nobody went with Vettel today, we'd definitely get accused of bias. I think you guys hate Vettel.
I think we were trying desperately not to give it to Vettel because it was voted as it. We like to try to be different, don't we, on here?
Yeah.
Sometimes the audience is right.
Yeah, I mean, he probably was, but it would have been boring if we all just said
Yeah.
Same thing. So
I was tempted to go with Verstappen because he did everything right, and it looked like it was going to be another great win for him, but it wasn't to be. But I can't really know the fact that Vettel drove a brilliant race.
Yeah, to challenge for the podium legitimately, and then actually get on it comfortably by the finish. That's just unbelievable. We've all said how bad that car is this season. I guess it's not that bad after all. It definitely suits the street track, so they'll be unhappy to see the Singapore's off the calendar now, probably. But yeah, so
since they've started like whining about the whole kind of low rake thing, I think they've kind of got their heads down and maybe just thought, this is our car now. We've got to do what we've got to do with this year, and then obviously they're looking to next year a lot, aren't they? As well, to one of those teams that are thinking next year is going to be a big year for them.
Yeah. But after Karen Safnauer's complaints, they're finally getting on with it and getting some good results. So fair play to him. But yeah, so that is the grid. That is the race. Do be sure to join us on YouTube. Any questions that you guys ask during the comments for this, we'll answer after the show, as always. And be sure to leave us a 5-star review on iTunes as well, and we'll shout out you at the start of the next show every time. But yes, we are available on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, Verbal, Omni Studio, and Pocket Cast. Just search for the F1 Grid Talk on all of those. We've got a massive back catalogue of shows now, well over 100 episodes to get through. It's not just previews, qualifying shows, and reviews, but it's also, I mentioned the Mario Isola one, but we also did documentary-style ones like Ayrton Senna, Tiregate, the 1994 Benetton conspiracy, ones like that. So be sure to check those out. Thank you very much for joining us, lads. It was a bit of a long one, but we got there in the end. What a race to review. Thank you for joining us.
All right, cheers for having me on.
No problem.
Thank you for listening and downloading, you guys, as well, and watching on YouTube. We'll continue on YouTube for a little bit longer to answer any questions, like we said before. And yeah, we'll be back next week to preview the French Grand Prix. I mean, we all love that track, so hopefully we get another good race in 2 weeks' time.
It's all right, I'm going for my eye test later.
You'll need it to look at that track for 2 hours. Anyway, thank you very much for joining us, guys. We'll see you in a week's time. Bye-bye.
Right.
Adios.
Ah.